Hi, ladies and gentlemen, C.Bro here, and today I'm taking a look at the early access game CastleStory. CastleStory is an early access game currently available on Steam for the relatively cheap entry price of $20. CastleStory is a strategy game where you build a castle to house the citizens of your burgeoning stronghold of yellow flubbermen called Brictrons. Brictrons are the entirety of your workforce and military in this game, and they perform all operations such as mining stone from the ground to cutting down whole forests of trees and building your fortress whilst defending it from enemy attacks. While I personally like the Robinesque Lego archers, the most unique feature regarding these tiny virtual Lego men is that each one is named. Now, how do you get more of these Brictrons, you ask? Unfortunately, they seem to be asexual, so there's no Rule 34 going on around here, if you know what I mean. Yet, as far as I can tell, you gain more by killing enemies. And with that said, it kind of gives me this disturbing image of, you know, like little yellow brick people grabbing their little tiny yellow penises and wiping the blood of their enemies all over it, and then humping the crystal, and somehow that big blue crystal creates more Brictrons. But again, I'm just fanciful. So it brings me to my next point. The game itself puts you in the role of this godlike creator of apparently mindless slaves. As they toil away the remaining vestiges of life, they still cling hopelessly to, while seemingly content following the orders of a disembodied arrow. Now, I think it's safe to say, the game is about as enjoyable as the description I just provided. It moves incredibly slow. Resource gathering takes for fucking ever, but honestly that wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the fact that you didn't have to fucking hold each one of these dumbasses' hands. Now don't get me wrong, all of these god-type games have a way of displaying the frivolity and insignificant doldrum tasks with which we carry out, you know, in our daily lives. However, this one oversells the fact of just how boring life as not only these slaves, but as the god can be. I mean, can you imagine being a god who just sits there and has to wait and wait and wait? Again, I know this isn't supposed to be a god game. It's supposed to be an RTS. But it just feels more like a god game, like Black and White, than it does a traditional RTS. Now, I mean, at least if there was another civilization of, I don't know, fucking Spheretrons, or Voxtrons, or any Voltron, shit, I don't give a shit, then maybe it would feel more like an RTS, but all it feels like is an incredibly dumbed down version of Stronghold and Black and White with Minecraft graphics. That is all it feels like, and honestly, that's disappointing, because this game has so much potential. Now, because I keep comparing Black and White to this game, I felt it would be beneficial if you see exactly what I'm talking about. Firstly, Black and White is a world with massive scope that is beautiful with mindless slaves who toil under you, just like this game. And aside from having one of the most awesome fucking dev logos title screens ever, the game still manages to wow and amaze you with its spectacular aesthetic and its easy control. Let's just say it's never been this easy to be a god, or at least to even be a general, or a commander, or anything involving strategy whatsoever. Now, just from the scenes you're seeing, does this world look dead, or even void of emotion in the least? Do the citizens look like they idle very often? Well, not at all. If I don't have time to turn each and every one of my citizens into disciples with specific tasks, sort of like how they expect you to do in CastleStory, they will actually continue the rest of their lives working at other things, chipping in the resource gathering, building projects, worship, or even being available for military recruitment. And this wasn't just a feature for the second Black and White. This was something that was in Black and White 1. And when did that game come out? Well, that would have been 2001. So that means 12 years ago, the same ideas were done and established, yet this game didn't pick up on it. What's the problem? Now, I realize that both of these games are on differing levels of funding and technology, but is it too much to just expect a little bit of innovation from a game? Now, with that, you know, comparison being established, some of the things that I like about the game is I actually like the animations. It's incredibly smooth. It's enjoyable to actually watch the Brictrons work. Not to mention, the nitty-gritties of the game are actually in the survival mode. The survival mode of the game is far more enjoyable than the actual sandbox mode, where, you know, that's what I originally was making the video with, was just the sandbox mode. And it's also should be said that, you know, actually seeing your castle come to fruition is incredibly rewarding. All the time you spent putting into actually building it, and finally it's there, that's one of the best parts of the whole game. But at the same time, it's incredibly frustrating, because if you're trying to defend against the Corruptrons and then all of a sudden they blow up half your fucking castle, or you accidentally detonate an explosive barrel that's got material in it that's obviously fucking explosive, it's gonna blow all your creation to hell, which is actually something I ran into later on in my actual experience. So that leads us into stuff that I just do not like about the game. I completely despise. For example, the fact that they have no free will. I can't stand it. It's incredibly annoying. I feel like, you know, they should be able to do a lot of this stuff by themselves without me having to hold their hand. And I shouldn't have to make sure that Tintin the fat ass is, you know, isn't staring blankly into the fucking deep blue sky. It's a pain in the ass. And on the topic of skies, the sky just happens to be below you. How stupid, why do games like to do that? Why does the world have to be in the sky? Why does my little island here have to be in the sky? Where's the water? Why? I want the capability to allow my little brick bastards to raid enemy villages. You know, go loot something, go plunder, go rape the women there. Well, you know, not rape, because they are asexual after all. You know, anyway, kill the fagtrons across the fucking stream. And see, like this right here, what the fuck is he staring at? Like, look, he just stands there in the corner and just stares. I wonder what he's thinking about, you know? With that said, I think I've made my point by now. Essentially, the game is not terrible. It's not terrible at all. Now, the sandbox mode is boring as fuck, but the survival mode is actually not bad. It's a little bit more enjoyable, and actually having to fight off these Corruptrons in a desperate battle for your life is actually interesting. This game is not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. It's fun, it has its moments, and the survival mode is not bad. I honestly really want to see these guys succeed. Like, I want to see Sauropod actually do something crazy. Because, like I said, this game has a lot of potential. I mean, look how pretty it is. It's almost got like a Warcraft look to it. Can you imagine if they turned this game into like a newer version of Warcraft? How awesome would that be? But again, I'm too hopeful for my own good. We will see through time, you know, what they will do, what they'll turn this game into, and I'll be here hoping that it's great. Now, if I had to place a score on this game, I'd say under design, that being graphics, sound, and animation overall, I'd give it an 8. User access, which would be control of the game from menus to movement of people and whatnot, I'd give it a 5. Gameplay, I'd give it a 6. And obviously there's no story in it, so I can't really grade that. And with that said, overall, I think it's safe to warrant the game 6. Also, I promise, the moment this game is released full from the early access it is currently in, I'd be glad to take a second shot at it and, you know, change my review if it is better. At that, happy holidays, everybody.